by Wargarble. This is an original story by me. Some content may not be suitable for younger dreamers. Thank you. So this is a strange, surreal, narrative story-based game. James Odin. My name is James Odin. I used to be a freelance journalist. I spent a little over 10 years covering stories in southern Ohio and the surrounding tri-state area. Last year, in the middle of August, was the moment I made the decision to retire from journalism. This rooted itself back to December of 2014. It was on the 20th that I received word of a mass disappearance of a small neighborhood on the west side of Hamilton County, Cincinnati, Ohio. This was easily the strangest story that I've ever encountered. It all happened in the span of 1 week. Not a single friend or family member called. No mail was delivered, no garbage was collected. It wasn't until a group of kids stumbled upon the neighborhood while on a walk. They said the amount of vegetation made it seem like it had been abandoned for years, yet cars were still resting with license plates attached, lawn decorations, etc. I arrived at this neighborhood on the 21st, and I came across what was determined to be the only evidence found. It was a camera and a journal that belonged to a resident by the name of Don Ross. It documented from December the 15th to the 18th, 4 days of Don's experience. I have arranged this material showcasing parts of Don's journal that I have transcribed, both clean and verbatim, followed by my own analysis. Following this will be a selection of photos that I believe are related to that portion of writing. I've been able to identify most of those who were involved thanks to the cooperation of the United States Postal Service, who ungrudgingly gave a list of names of every resident. The license plates of the vehicles also came up with residents' names when searched. Please remember to keep an open mind, and understand that we still don't know the whereabouts of anyone involved at this time of writing. Thank you. Entry 1, December 15th, 2014. It's the strangest feeling to know something, while at the same time not knowing it. Like I know exactly where I am. Yet it's alien to me. It's so damn maddening. What's strange is that I feel the same way about you. I'm aware of you, and the more I try to understand myself, the more I understand who you are, what you're for, like what the purpose is of my knowing about you. But I don't know you. All of this is the reason why I've decided to write everything down, to take pictures. It's for you. The house I woke up in yesterday was dark and I was in pain. I could feel every nerve in my body firing off together. I hope that one day you feel this too. It's surprising to know just how fast you can learn to appreciate what pain really is, and how natural it is for us. The suffering only comes from being afraid of it, but taking it in as it appears is like a wave in the ocean. My breathing was the only thing that I could hear. I was propped up against the side of a bed, and the carpet was soft. All I could smell was water. There was a light on the doorway to the hall, but there weren't any windows, no lamps or candles, no source. It was just splashes of light, like little glowing islands in a sea of darkness. I recognised where I was, though. I noticed the old solid wood of the bedposts and dressers, and the old tube TV on the floor. This was the house of an elderly couple that a friend of me would help out on occasion. I found a camera in that room. I took it. I felt compelled to. I'm quite sure I overstayed my welcome, though. I could feel all of this energy, and all of it was insisting that I leave. James Odin. I can't fathom Don's mental state here. I'd assume that under such extreme circumstances that one would struggle to accurately recall any amount of fine details, yet he has no trouble doing so. This house that Don wakes up in belongs to Jack and Mary Lynn, and the name of the mentioned friend is Chris Edwards. I find it worth noting that Don doesn't write anyone's names. It's quite puzzling since he appears to be talking to someone specific. The most notable thing about these first 3 photographs is how strange the lighting is. If there's any truth to a statement regarding the non-existent light source, then, well, I'm not so sure what to think about that myself. Please just keep in mind that I've decided to keep these written notes from myself as a means to share the small amount of info that I do know. in hopes that somebody reading this will know something. And admittedly, writing their thoughts down like this is quite therapeutic. Is that the light source that it's on about? Don's journal entry 1 continued. You could see the living room from the front door, so I took a photo and saw the old couple due in the flash. It startled me, but before I could fully react to what I saw, the house rumbled, making dust and debris fall, blocking my vision. The front door swung open and I was thrown out onto the front lawn. The wind felt incredible. I sat there for a while, almost falling asleep. There was a noise, a sort of screech. I could hear it in the wind. I could hear it behind me, and I turned around to see what looked like fog coming up from behind the house. I went back there to check it out, and my old friend was there. Then you recognised him from his clothes. His head was missing. He sat in an old bench swing on the back porch. There was a large branch protruding from his coat, where his neck would have been. I couldn't tell how much of him was him, or if his torso was just tree limbs. The screech came from a bird that was on the branch. It was tough to see it through the fog that billowed out of him. It looked like he was breathing quite heavily, his hands were shaking. Then he would laugh a bit. It felt like I was standing there watching him. There was a movement in his coat, and all of these other broken branches came out of him, followed by a group of butterflies. All of the branches were moving around and swaying a bit, moving in and out of him. His breathing stopped, and his hands went still. I took the picture. It really is the strangest feeling. This was the moment that made me question the authenticity of the photos, while at the same time made me fear how genuine they might actually be. It was such a contradiction that I couldn't shake, and it made me understand Don's own contradictions. It was impossible for these things to happen to the human body, yet here is the evidence telling me otherwise. I've shown the photograph of Jack and Mary Lynn to their daughter. I've shown the photograph of Chris Edwards to his parents. I share their confusion. I understand their heartbreak is genuine. And at that time, it didn't matter that we lacked understanding of what was happening, because what we did understand is that they were gone. Oh wow, so that's Jack and Mary Lynn. What's happened to them? And this is Chris Edwards. The head is gone, the trees. Don's journal entry 2. I used to be obsessed with dreaming. They would be so vivid and seem like nightmares at times. My brain never woke itself. It would treat a nightmare like an everyday occurrence. I learned to enjoy it a bit though. Today was the first time a dream had woken me up. I was floating in a black void with a human figure in front of me. The face was made up of several other human faces, but I could see that its eyes were my own. Once I realised I was staring at myself, I woke up. Everyone here is being pulled somewhere else. Maybe it's to that void. The man in the backyard was separating by strands and was slowly stretching up into the sky. The folks next door, the man on the floor, wouldn't stop screaming. Stepping into that house was a mistake. He hadn't taken any breaths either, just constant screaming. The girl in the kitchen was quiet though. Man will deny what's happening to him. Because of that, he is in pain, swimming against a current to which he'll certainly drown. I got to learn a bit more about Don from talking to his brother Philip. He lived 40 minutes away from the neighbourhood with a lovely wife and adorable 7-year-old daughter who reminded me of my own. Philip had told me that Don was on track to become a music teacher and was planning on moving to New York with his girlfriend, which he stressed about since it would require him to move away from family. Family seems to have been everything to him, but I find it odd that there is hardly any mention of them throughout this journal entries. Don seems to be infatuated with the situation, almost exploring it like a child. But I do find it to be a rough read, as it is obvious of his changing mental state. I also can't help but wonder why Don is the only person not incapacitated by whatever this is that's happening. It almost does seem that nature is allowing him to investigate. Of the 3 photographs, only 2 have been identified. In the second photo, the screaming man has been identified as William Gregory, and the woman in the third photo is Amy Coombs, both identified by a mutual friend. The person in the first photograph could not be identified. So this is the unidentified person. And this is William Gregory. Oh wow. And that's Amy Coombs. Surreal. Entry 2 continued. Chrysalis. Inside a chrysalis is where a transformation happens. It's where a caterpillar breaks down all that it is and naturally reassembles itself into something that looks completely different, yet it's still itself. That is what's happening here. You do see that, don't you? You will. I stood watching those vines on the wall slowly take over everything. The couple on the couch stretched and twitched, the person standing on the back porch with the arm of a child and mouth of a dog protruding from them. You see, I'm looking at all of it in a way that I know you aren't. I find it to be absolutely beautiful. James. A year and a half ago, Don would have been right about me. Everyone who was photographed looked like they were going through something torturous. All of the hurt and tears from friends and loved ones made it hard to be viewed as beautiful. But where I am at now, well, I understand what Don has realised. The first of the 2 photos is something I believe to be quite substantial. Don's mention of a chrysalis is related to the reoccurring butterflies, and I find that this house in a way resembles a chrysalis. But maybe, more accurately, the neighbourhood itself is acting as one. Even though these residents are physically changing, they're still who they originally were, and who they started out as. Frank reads on the left, and Julia reads on the right. Unidentified. Today I did something. I let out a part of myself that I suppose was always there. It's a part that exists within all of us, really. I thought I'd accepted everything, but it broke me. It was in that moment I took the life of an infant. It was lying in the garden of a house nearby with plant roots hanging out of its belly. It choked in between its cries, and it shattered me. I couldn't stand it. And you'll hate me for it. You'll call me a murderer. Since humans have existed, there have always been violence. And common sense will tell you that it existed before humans as well. It's a part of nature. I was absolutely lost. I sat and sulked in the middle of a front lawn. My hands were covered in goddamn blood, and my mind was stuck in a vicious loop. A repetition of thoughts and worry. But me deciding to drive away was the best thing I could have done. It really hit me about the importance of opposites. Black and white, solids and spaces, up and down. Old and young, religious and atheists. Peace and violence, the list goes on and on. One of these simply could not exist without the other. How do you know that you're a good person? A light will always cast a shadow, and that light isn't noticeable without the darkness that surrounds it. I needed to commit that act of violence for me to fully appreciate my own peacefulness. But a couple of hours into that drive I spotted them floating, and even though no turns were taken, that road led me right back to where I started. A week and a half ago, before I started writing any of this, I had an encounter at a local bar. The person was in a suit. They sat next to me. Their face was patched with different colour skin. Their hands had it too. They ordered a water, and when it arrived, they looked down and cupped the glass in their hands and held it there. About 2 or 3 minutes went by before they looked over at me. I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. It was like I was staring at every type of human being merged into one. You are responsible for how the world is, they said. You didn't ask to be here, yet here you are. When you join the dance, the responsibility of existing, good and bad, life and death, is on you. It's on everyone. It was on Tess. As soon as they said her name, I nearly screamed and cried. Tess was my youngest daughter. She passed away 2 years ago from a brain aneurysm. You know, she lives in Argentina. She's 1.5 years. A tear rolled down my face. They smiled, stood, and left. Their glass was empty. A lot has happened since the day I found that camera and journal. I've gone through immense changes, mentally anyhow. I understand that life is never guaranteed for anyone. There is no written rule that it has to be a certain length. It can be as long as it needs to, or as short. It's what makes living lively. There's a beauty in its unpredictability, a certain type of excitement. But mostly it makes me truly feel what it is to exist. That I am as big as the universe, and I am as small as an atom. And like the universe, I will always go on. These are the floating people. Oh wow. Continued, but as my mental state evolved, all of my surroundings began changing. I now know that this was all part of my entire metamorphosis. James. The sudden change in the environment is a bit disorientating. I can't even imagine what it was like actually being there when it occurred. But I can accurately state that the tree in this photo is a tree in Don's backyard. His brother recognised the multiple trunks. As of today, December the 3rd, 2017, 26 neighbourhoods across the United States have been reported abandoned, with every resident missing. Of those 26, 13 of them have had evidence like this. Some are journals and photos, some are drawings, audio recordings and recorded videos. These are currently being analysed, just as I am doing with this. Things are changing. I found that I get a ridiculous anxiety when I'm away from my family now. I'm afraid that I'll be a bit oblivious, and that they will vanish, just like Don Ross, just like Jack and Mary Lynn, just like Chris Edwards, just like everyone. Entry 3. I can feel everything. So much feeling, so much movement. Jesus, it's so goddamn difficult to write now. My skin, my face, myself, my life, my eyes. My eyes, my eyes, my eyes, my eyes, my eyes. My eyes, it feels unbelievable. No pain anymore. I know you'll feel this too. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. My eyes are shifting. What I see is change. What I feel is all there is. I have to get this out. Help me get this out. Help me get this out. Help me, please. There is a yellow light. A glow. It reminds me of you. I hope you're better now. I hope things are better now for you. You deserve to be better. Please don't be pain. Don't be pain. It's all there is. I have to get this out before I'm gone. Before I go to the space in between the rooms. The place we can't see. You'll see it. You'll be here. After the windmill. With your family. You'll be the last. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it's happening. James, change is inevitable. Nothing is ever stagnant. Your body, the earth, and this great universe you're a part of is constantly moving, and it's all in a relationship with one another. In the second journal entry, Don talks about opposites. I didn't understand the point at first, but I get it now. Everything that exists is in an automatic relationship with everything else. I can't talk about a light without talking about the darkness around it. I can't discuss my own personal beliefs without mentioning the opposing viewpoint. What does any of this mean? It means that there is only one system of behaviour. There are no more journal entries. All that's left is close to 100 additional abstract photos. I've chosen 5 of them to showcase. I believe that what is pictured here is a collapsing or merging of dimensions, that every part of existence is fusing with itself. Even though I feel that I understand what is happening, I still can't answer why. Maybe there isn't a why. The human mind that has evolved to be curious and to find understanding is given a situation that completely lacks any reason. The mind is then left searching for something that was never meant to be there in the first place. No explanations. No reasons. Sometimes things just are the way they are. Conclusion. Things have changed since I've started this. A large part of the population is now missing. I have to release this while society is still operating. I have hope that this evidence helps those of us who are left and waiting to vanish. It's to help with your acceptance of this situation that is strange, beautiful and terrifying. When it becomes your time, just let it happen. It's all you can do. Fighting against it is what brings pain and suffering. I'm aware that there are still plenty of questions left unanswered about all of this, and I'm sorry to tell you that I don't have the answers, and that's okay. It's okay to not know. We strain ourselves in this world to be knowledgeable of everything. Some of us go absolutely crazy when we don't get the information we want. Why is that? Why get hung up on the things like this? The only thing you need to understand is that you and I are a natural part of this world, and this world is a natural part of this universe, and who knows what that's a part of. Whatever it is supposed to be here, just as every single one of us is supposed to be here too. Wow, that was awesome. That was like a proper novella sort of experience. I didn't expect it to be like 95% reading, but what a great way to marry the amazing surreal visuals with like some sort of a narrative. Beautiful writing. Really beautifully done. And a really interesting mediation on the nature of existence.